My name is Dr. Michael Brown, and you are listening to 3 Words, a bite-sized podcast about the small and yet strategic choices that all of us can make in order to become the very best version of ourselves and to be fully alive, not just today, but at the end of our lives. And so that's why this conversation today with my dear friend Casey Greenawalt, young entrepreneur, young man who's only 26 years old, talking about these 3 words. Don't die wondering. He's already thinking about the end of the game. He's already thinking about the final chapter of his story, and we have a fantastic conversation about how to live life on purpose without regrets. Listen now. So Casey, if there's one thing we don't have a problem doing, it's having great conversations together. So I'm excited to have you on this podcast episode today with these 3 words.
Don't die wondering.
Oh, geez. So I'm sure some of our podcast listeners and viewers are thinking, do all they talk about is death on 3 Words podcast? We do talk about death and funerals a lot.
We do. It's pretty morbid, actually. One of the first questions I think you asked me was like, what do you want to be true about you when you die? It was like, oh my gosh, death. That's so scary. You rephrased it another way. I heard you say this a couple months ago. You were like, okay, let's not talk about death. What about your 75th birthday party? But
Right.
Point being, don't die wondering. Don't make it to your 75th birthday party wondering what could have been. And I love that question because oftentimes we talk about what we want to be when we grow up. We ask our kids that. You ask this often. But the better question is who? Like, who do you want to be when you die, when you're at your 75th birthday party? Because ultimately what we do, it's going to change. And we see that again, especially in the world we live in now. Things are changing like crazy. People are changing careers. You're changing where you live. But who you become and the character you have, that's ultimately what matters. And so when we begin to wonder about who we want to be, man, that's a fun exercise to begin to think about. So it's not so morbid. It's not just death we're thinking about here. We're thinking about the life we're living now.
Well, and that's one of the reasons I bought thousands and thousands of black marbles. You know this. Everyone's been talking about Michael's marbles, right? And my son Logan was on a podcast with me talking about my marbles. I actually bought thousands of marbles that represent every day of my life if I were to live to be 100 years old. So I'm actually writing a book right now called The Marble Mindset. If I can reach into my pocket.
You got one in your pocket now?
Oh, I always do. I always have a marble in my pocket that represents today. And every single day I'm pulling these marbles out of these big fish bowls and sticking them in my pocket to remind me that all I have a guarantee of is today. Maybe not even the entire day,
right? But
I want to live fully in the present. I don't want to get to the end of my life wondering with regrets. What if I could have? Should I have? And in fact, I have been, as we work in DAB coaching with a variety of companies and corporations and clients of all sorts, we've been talking a lot about living life on purpose and specifically, what are the regrets?
Yeah.
What are the regrets that people have in life? And I don't know if you've seen this data, but there's some very interesting common themes that those who work in hospice and those who are with people at the end of their life experiences, there's certain phrases and certain things that are coming out that people have at the end of their life regretting. Here's a few of them just for your consideration. I wish I would have taken better care of my body. I wish I would have been less involved with toxic people. I wish I would have had the courage to be honest with how I really felt, to be honest, to express my feelings. I wish I would have been free to be myself and not just living to be who everyone else thought I should be.
That's good.
I would have the courage to pursue adventures and not just do a job. There's just a lot of different regrets that people have. But I think if we on the front end had some conversations that you just initiated with us about not dying wondering and thinking about those regrets, and we can avoid some of those things later on in life.
You're a lot like me. You have a lot of ideas, correct?
I do.
Yeah, I have a lot of ideas. My people I work with, my wife, my family, they laugh at me. They're like, you have so many ideas all the time. It's just a gift to be able to wonder and dream about what life could be and what I could do and where I could go and what job I could have. It's a great thing. I think with that though, one of the things I've learned is to ask the people around me what they think. And recently I'm running into this tension of caring too much about what the people around me think. And I never really realized that about myself. As I think about like what's next for me in my life and what I want to do, it's a good thing to seek counsel. It's a good thing to ask people for advice, but ultimately it can kind of enable us to make a decision because we're considering what everyone is going to think. And now I'm stuck and now I'm wondering, and now what if I make it to the end of my life and I never make a decision to do what's next, to be my true self, to step into this new job opportunity, to dream here, to step into whatever it may be, all because I'm worried what someone else might think. It's a tension because you do want to be wise, but at the same time, that can really hold you back from experiencing some of life's, I think, biggest wins for whatever that may be for you.
Well, and Casey, you're in the midst of a career change yourself. And we were just talking about this off camera, and you're beginning to kind of explore different opportunities. And I'm sure early on in that process, you were thinking, what do people think about that?
100%.
But there's also another regret that a lot of people have at the end of their life is they wish they would have been willing to make more mistakes. Because there's always this sense like, what if I make a mistake? What if I choose a career? I would say you can't make this crazy mistake. I
agree.
It's like there's so many options. We need to pull the trigger. We need to make some decisions. But none of us want to get to the end of our life wondering.
Right.
Why would we?
Some of the things I started to do was I first wrote some of those ideas down. I think oftentimes we have a lot of ideas, those of us that are big dreamers, and we just say them all the time.
So ideas about what?
Just for specifically what I would think could be next for me in my life and my career, because this is kind of the path we're going down. So writing down some of those thoughts and those ideas, and then going to people that I trust and asking for their opinion, their advice on things. And then ultimately I have to take the time and reflect on where I've been and think about where I'm going, wonder a little bit, right? What do I want to be true about me? And how is this career path going to impact that? And not just what I would do with this job or this career, but how would I do it? How would I go about it? And what traits that are specific to me are going to help me thrive in this career, right? All of those things, right? Stepping into it, being intentional, writing it down, talking to other people. And then ultimately what I did too is I wrote down like 5 next steps, just the 5 most clear next steps that I could take, and said by the end of the week, I want to take one of those steps, just one step. We talk often about how sometimes these conversations in life can feel so difficult. And it is sometimes, but it's not complex. Life is simple, but it's hard. It's making the simple choices every single day. So just make a list. What is the thing you want to do? Go talk to somebody, write it down, write the next couple steps you need to take to get to that next thing. And ultimately, you kind of have to do it. You have to take a step into that and actually do it, whether that's becoming somebody, stepping into a new job path or a new career, whatever that may be for you. You kind of you got to do it. That's the hard part.
Well, let's talk about lists. Let's talk specifically, since we're talking about Don't Die Wondering. Let's talk about bucket lists.
Oh, okay.
So there was even a movie, Bucket List, right? The Bucket List.
It was a good movie, by the way.
It was a great movie, But this notion that oftentimes we think about a bucket list is all these things I want to do to be adventurous without asking the question, are the things on my bucket list, are they meaningful?
Right.
Are they holistically helping me become, as you talked about at the beginning of our podcast conversation, who I want to be at the end of my life? So I want to do adventurous things.
Me too.
I'm a 7 on the Enneagram.
Me too.
And so I want to be adventurous. I want to be out there. I have a FOMO, fear of missing out. But I want to make sure that I'm not doing those separate from who I'm becoming. Because then I think I'll still get to the end of my life wondering.
Absolutely. I'm just like you. I love an adventure. I love to do something extreme. And I think that's funny because I have a bucket list of items and things I want to do, but I try to make it, I guess, a value of mine that I'm always doing those with people that I care about. Because it's not just doing it. It's not just going whitewater rafting or jumping out of an airplane or traveling in the Middle East or going to Asia, whatever it is. It's not just doing those things. It's creating the memories with the people that I care most about. And that's a value I have. So again, that goes back to the conversation. Not what do you want to do? Doing stuff is great, but ultimately it's who you want to become. I want to become a person who creates memories that last forever, that the people I'm closest with are going to remember them because I was present and I was intentional in those moments, whether it's going to Wildwood down the street in Toledo, Ohio and walking the path or, climbing Mount Everest, whatever it may be. So I love bucket lists, but I think you're totally right.
Well, and that was actually one of the regrets that came to the top of the list on regrets that people have at the end of their life is I did not spend enough time and prioritize my most significant relationships with family and friends.
Yeah.
I mean, no one is saying at the end of their life in the top 10 list, I wish I would have made more money.
Right.
No one is saying, I wish I would have owned more possessions. I wish I would have. Now, maybe they said, I wish I would have taken that trip. But if they're saying to themselves, I wish I would have taken that trip, it's probably because what you talked about. I wish I would have taken that trip with someone.
Yeah.
Built that memory that we can share together. But I don't want to get to the end of my life wondering, could I have been more connected to that human being?
Yeah.
Could my relationship with my wife been deeper? Could I have known and connected more deeply with each of my children. Like, nobody wants that wondering at the end of their life.
Yeah, I think if I look forward to my 75th birthday party, because death is morbid and we don't like morbid things. But if I look forward to my 75th birthday party, first of all, I want people around. Like, I think about the stories that I want to be shared. I want them to be stories about me with the people around them. I wouldn't want them just to be, oh yeah, he lived a good life. He was a nice guy. He mowed his lawn. He kept his house clean, walked his dog. Those are good things. But, I would want it to be some of those things that you were just talking about. I was intentional. I spent time with the people I cared deepest about, sharing those stories, sharing those memories, celebrating the life that I had, and not having to die with the regret of, man, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have been better at this. I wish I was more intentional here. And so that's the habit of reflection, I think, is really important. And that's why I'm so grateful for people like you in my life. And if you don't have people who are older, who are pouring into you in some way, I would highly, highly recommend it, because having people who are constantly reminding you to reflect on your life and say, where am I and where have I been and where do I want to go? It's so important to do, because it's easy to wake up some days and go, what am I doing again? Like, I feel like I'm coasting. All right, let me try and be a little more intentional here, because I don't want to wake up at 75 and feel that way and feel like 45 years have gone by and all I've been doing is waking up, going to work and coming home and going to bed.
Casey, you are wise beyond your years. Why don't you, if you're just listening to the podcast and not watching this on our YouTube channel, you probably don't realize how young Casey is. Casey, how old are you?
I'm 26.
So Casey is 26. I'm exactly double your age at 52 years old.
You are.
But here's the point.
Yeah.
You're thinking about these things now. You don't need to wait till you're 40, 50, 60, 70 to be thinking about these things. So I'm actually going to pass the baton to you and say to you, my friend, my youngest life coach, my youngest consultant on D&B coaching, I want you to have the final word and a final summary and just thoughts to wrap up our conversation with, quite honestly, folks in our YouTube and podcast world that are probably closer to your age than my age. Because what I want them to hear you talk about is insights coming from someone who is not waiting till they're 80 or 90 years old to have these conversations. So wrap us up.
Well, no matter how old you are, whether you're in your 20s or your 70s, it is not too late to start this. You're still alive. Tomorrow or today is still the day you have. And so live in every moment, be present. Don't let moments slip by without being intentional and planning and inviting others into those moments, because you don't want to get to that 75th birthday party. You don't want to get to the end of your life and look back and go, man, I wish I would have done these things better. I wish I would have been a better husband. I wish I would have been more present with my kids and didn't spend as much time as I did at work and more time at home. So I don't know what that looks like for you. Maybe you just need to write some of these things down. You need to start reflecting on where your life has been, where it is right now, and where you want to go. Maybe there's someone you need to invite into a conversation to talk, to seek some counsel. Or maybe you just need to stop caring so much about what others think and step into that next step that is for you. Either way, don't die wondering.
For life coaching, consulting services, or to hire a keynote speaker, please visit dmbcoaching.com.